Yeah, because I always like to do some meditation with people before giving a talk so that we can make the shift between running around all day and being very busy and now doing something a little bit more serious. Okay, so I'll lead you through a body relaxation first, just to check in with our body and release any tension. And then we'll do a meditation on the breath. And we'll do it in order to develop some concentration. So there's different ways to meditate on the breath. This particular way we'll be doing it to develop some concentration. So we'll be watching our breath, just letting the breath be normal and natural without forcing it in any way. Just, inhaling and exhaling, and then keeping our attention on the breath. Either focusing here at the belly and watching the rise and fall of the breath, or focusing here at the upper lip and the nostrils and watching the sensation of the air as it goes in and out. Okay, but from one of those two places, focusing on what is happening right now, which is we are breathing. And we're sitting in a safe place with kind people. Yeah. So coming back to the present moment and what is happening now without letting our mind getting lost in attachment or anger, either towards things in the past that we liked or didn't like, or things in the future that we want or we fear. But instead remaining right now with a mind that's free of attachment and anger. And then simply watching the breath, and it's interesting as you watch the breath to see how it changes. Yeah, the breath is not one solid thing, but it's something that's changing every moment. So we'll do that for a little while, and by keeping our mind focused on the breath, one object, in this case the breath, then the mind begins to quiet down and all the chattering stops. Of course, we usually have a lot of chattering, so if your mind gets distracted, just notice that you've gotten distracted, but then bring your focus back to the breath. So your breath is kind of like home, and you keep coming home. It's a nice image, isn't it? You come home to your breath. You relax while you're breathing, like you relax at home. Okay? So I'll lead you in the short body scan and relaxation, and then we'll do some meditations. So sit up straight, and your hands, the right and the left, the thumbs are touching. Get a little white fuzz all around. Okay, and lower your eyes. Keep your head level. And begin by being aware of sitting here on this cushion. So bring your attention to where your body is. Right here, right now, on this cushion. And be aware of sharing this space with a group of like-minded people. And give them your support in their practice and feel how they are supporting you in your practice. And become aware of sensations in your legs and your feet. If there's any tension anywhere, then let it go. Aware of sensations in your belly, in your lower abdomen. Some people store their stress in their belly, and their belly's kind of tight, or rumbles a lot. sensations in your back, shoulders, chest, and arms. A lot of us store our tension in our back, especially if you spend much time with computers. Sometimes your back is quite tight. So it's helpful to lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears as high as you can. Tuck your chin in a little bit. Hold your shoulders there for a moment. And then let them fall very quickly. And that's very good for releasing the tension in the shoulders. And then be aware of sensations in your neck, jaw, face, and head. And if your facial muscles are tight or if your jaw is clenched, again, release that tension. So feel how your physical position is firm, but also at ease. And so just as your body can be firm and relaxed at the same time, so too your mind can be steady, it can be firm and relaxed at the same time. And with that, now become aware of your breath, the air as it goes in and out. Focus either at your belly or at the nostrils and upper lip. And then just watch the sensations of the breath. Really feel what's going on as you inhale and exhale. If you get distracted, bring yourself home to the breath. And so we'll have some time of silence to do that now. And however many times you need to bring yourself back to the breath, that's fine. And then just relax into watching all the different things that are happening as the breath is entering and leaving you. And then before we begin the talk this evening, let's spend a moment and cultivate our motivation. And think that we will listen and share in the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, so that we can recognize our faults, our weaknesses, and learn how to work with them. So we can see our potential and our good qualities and learn how to increase them. And let's do this not simply for our own welfare and not simply for the happiness of only this life, but let's have a big mind and take into consideration the situations of all living beings. Everybody wishes for happiness and not suffering. And let's have the resolve to actualize our full potential, to become a fully enlightened Buddha, so that we can be of the greatest service to other living beings with compassion and with wisdom. So spend a moment and cultivate that as your aspiration for what we're going to share together this evening. And then slowly open your eyes and come out of your meditation. Shantideva's book, A Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And just before coming to the center while we were having tea, it was suggested that rather than read from the book, that I just talk, a little bit from my own ideas or my own experience of practicing, particularly chapter 6. Okay, chapter 6 is the chapter on patience.
A little louder, please.
A little louder. Let's see. Let me see. If I hold it like that, that's better, isn't it? Okay. Let's get rid of this thing. Okay. So I thought to talk more about chapter 6, which is on patience, or another translation instead of the word patience is fortitude. And I actually think fortitude is a better translation for that Bodhisattva practice. When we hear the word patience, we often think of sitting around and waiting for something. Like I'm in a hurry and somebody says, oh, just be patient, be patient. Yeah. Whereas this practice, this Bodhisattva practice, isn't just sitting around and waiting. It actually, what it means is the ability to keep your mind steady and calm in the confront of harassment or suffering. Okay. And so when I think of, that ability to keep your mind steady and calm, no matter what life is throwing at you or what you are stumbling into, I see that quality much more as fortitude, some kind of inner strength, building inner strength, so that whatever happens in our life, we can handle it. We can bring it into our practice. It doesn't overwhelm us. We don't fall apart. Okay, so I see that much more as fortitude than patience. Okay? So one of the, there's 3 kinds of fortitude, One is what the fortitude of bearing suffering. So when we have physical pain or illness, something like that. So how to have a stable, strong mind when we're faced with mental and physical suffering. A second kind of fortitude is how to handle criticism and attack and hostility from other people. And then a third kind of fortitude is how to practice the Dharma and bear and transform the difficulty that Dharma practice entails. Because Dharma practice challenges everything we believe in. So we need some kind of inner strength to go through that too. But most people, of these 3 kinds of fortitude, guess which one they want to hear about? The second one, huh? How to handle it when all those nasty, obnoxious people blame you for things that aren't your fault. Right? Yeah, it's always like that, isn't it? So, in other words, how to deal with our anger when people don't do what we want them to do, and when they don't behave like they should. Anybody here have that problem? Yeah? Oh, a few of us. Maybe your husband or wife is here, and you're elbowing him and her and saying, you better listen to this. You have a problem with anger, dear. I don't want to say anything, but all of our fights are your fault, so you better pay attention to this talk. Actually, it's not for your husband and wife, it's for you. Okay, so the mental factor, I hear you've been studying mind and mental factors. The mental factor that particularly comes up for us is anger. Okay, so anger is a mental state which is based on exaggeration. We are exaggerating the negative qualities of someone or something, or exaggerating the harm that somebody is doing, or we are projecting bad qualities onto someone or something that they don't have. And then that activates in us this flight or fight response. In other words, somebody is doing something, we exaggerate the harm, or we project the harm, and then we either want to clobber them and attack and cause them misery and get even. Yeah, like that. Or we want to run away. Okay? So we have, most of us get angry, don't we? And anger covers a whole variety of mental states. In a small way, it can be irritation or annoyance, and then it progresses to frustration, and then it goes to outrage, or enrage, or hatred, spite, wrath. Okay, we have lots of English words for states of anger. I wonder why. But they all share this quality of exaggerating and projecting. Now the thing is, whenever we're angry, okay, think for a moment of a time recently when you were angry. And at that time, did you think I am projecting or exaggerating negativity that isn't there? No. Yeah. We never think when we're angry that our mental state is totally off the wall and unrealistic. We never think it's exaggerated. Yeah, when we're angry, the situation is very clear. I'm right, you're wrong, and the situation is you change and do things my way. Right? Yeah, believe me. That's the way we see it. Yeah. So on one hand we say, oh yes, anger is a distorted mental state, blah blah. But when we're angry, oh, what I'm perceiving is not distorted. I am right, 100%. So you see how when we're angry, our mind is so clouded that we can't even tell that we have an afflicted mental state at that time. Yeah? We're so entrenched and grasping onto the appearance of the situation that we can't see beyond it. And we are sure, 100%, that the other person is what we think they are. Yeah. And they really are trying to harm me. And they really don't appreciate me. And they really are gossiping behind my back. Right? Huh? Okay? When we're angry, we don't have any doubt. We just buy into our vision. Yeah. However, if we look at the definition of anger, it's exaggerated. It's unrealistic. Okay, so that's one thing to remember about anger. We're not really seeing the situation correctly. A second thing about anger is to ask ourselves, is it beneficial or not? Does anger help me? Okay. Not, am I a bad person because I get angry? That's not the question to ask. We're not judging ourselves, am I a good person or a bad person? We're just looking and saying, when anger arises in my mind, is it something beneficial? Or is it something that is harmful? Okay. So, let's do a little exploration. First of all, when you're angry, are you happy? No. So is anger beneficial from the perspective of bringing you happiness? No. Okay. When you're angry, do you communicate well with the other person? No. You may communicate loudly in case they have a hearing problem. You may repeat it a few times in case they have short-term memory loss. But do we really communicate well when we're angry? No. Okay. What happens? What do we say when we're angry, usually? Okay. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. Who do you get the angriest at? Strangers or the people you care about? The people you care about, isn't it? Would you ever say to a stranger what you say to a family member? No.
Not only one wants to pop, once to the place.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? Here are our family members, the people that we care the most about. And yet they are the people that we say the most awful things to. We would never, ever speak to a stranger the way we speak to somebody that we care about. Doesn't that seem a little bit stupid? You know, here's somebody we really treasure, we really care about, and yet we dump on this person all of our anger and hatred and belligerence. Is that beneficial? Is that wise? Does that make much sense? It doesn't, does it? Now, if you think of a situation with a loved one where you were very upset, maybe you were quarreling with them or something happened, yeah? So at that moment, they aren't doing what you want them to do. But in the depth of your heart, what is it that you really want at that moment? What kind of relationship do you really want to have with your loved one at that time when you're the most angry at them? What is it that's really in your heart? What is it you really want at that time?
Acceptance.
Yeah, you really want to feel close to them, don't you? You know? Here's all this anger, here's this argument. But really inside, what we're wanting is to have a peaceful, happy, intimate, close, sharing life with them. And yet, when our mind is under the influence of anger, it's so hard for us to get in touch with what we really want. And instead, motivated by our anger, what do with the person that we care the most about? We yell, we scream, we accuse them of who knows what, we throw things, or we walk away and slam the door and refuse to speak to them. We go out and get drunk or take drugs or, you know, we do who knows what. And yet, in our heart, at the bottom of our heart, what we're really wanting is to be close to that person. So does the behavior that anger makes us engage in, does it bring about what we really want in the depth of our heart? No, it brings about the opposite, doesn't it? Yeah? So some of us are what I call imploders, and some of us are exploders. Okay, so the imploders, we walk away, slam the door or close the door, go in our room, sit and cry, feel sorry for ourselves, and refuse to communicate. How many of you have that as a strategy when you're angry? Okay, then there's the exploders. they let the whole world know they're upset. They, wow, you did this, nah, 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 nah. Yell and scream and throw and everything. How many of you do that when you're angry? Oh, come on. Come on. How many of you explode and yell and scream? Okay. So whether we're imploders or exploders, either strategy doesn't work to bring about what we really want, does it? Yeah, doesn't work. So that, anger, the tricky thing about anger is anger pretends to be our friend. Because when our feelings are hurt, we feel like powerless, or we feel hopeless or helpless. So we feel very weak when our feelings are hurt. Anger masks the feeling of hurt, and it gives us a false sense of power. Because when we're angry, our adrenaline is going, and we're pumped up, and we're so there's a false sense of power there. So the anger, it pretends to be our friend because we don't like feeling weak and helpless. But the sense of power it gives us is it's not wise power, it's not helpful power. Okay? When we yell and scream and throw things and accuse people, do they all of a sudden go, oh yes dear, you're right? Do they? No. Yeah. They go, who do you think you are to talk to me like that? Or they just leave and slam the door in our face. Okay? So our anger actually pushes people away from us. What we're wanting is to be close, and the anger creates a distance. Because, do you like being around somebody who's angry? I don't think any of us like being around angry people, when they're angry. It's not very pleasant. Okay. Now, what about those of us who, when we feel hurt, when we feel angry, we throw a pity party? Oh, look how they're treating me. I'm always on the wrong end of it. They always blame me for things I didn't do. I just mean well, and they don't love me, and they don't appreciate me. They're taking advantage of me. Okay, right? Yeah? You know the scene? And then in the back of our head, when we're throwing our pity party and feeling a victim, we're making ourselves into a victim. We're saying their anger is making me into a victim, but in actual fact, our way of thinking is making us into a victim. Okay? And so when we're sitting there feeling like a victim, one part of our mind says, I really hope they recognize how upset I am and realize it's all due to them. Right? Right? Isn't that what you want? Yeah. And so, we're grieving. And then whoever we're mad at comes up and says, oh, are you okay? You seem upset. And we go, everything's fine. And we won't talk to them, will we? Everything's fine. Yeah. Now, what's the other person supposed to do then? Yeah. You know what we want? We want them to kind of come groveling on the floor, don't we? Oh, I know it's all my fault. I upset you. You're suffering so much. Please forgive me. That's what we'd really like, isn't it? You know, some kind of dramatic apology, and, you know, some chocolate and some roses wouldn't hurt either. But the dramatic apology is what we really want. Okay. Does the other person do that? No. Absolutely not. You know, what do we do when we refuse to talk to them because we're so upset?
Those who care,
Hmm?
those who care the person will do that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they'll give them the flowers and the chocolate. But you know, what does the other person feel like? I mean, reverse the situation. When you go to somebody else who's upset and you try and talk to them and they won't talk to you, what do you do afterwards? You go do something else, don't you? You leave. And you say, well, I tried, but they won't talk to me, so, you know, let's go out and do something else.
They also blame you for being silent and
Right. They blame us. But then we're holding on to, you know, I mean, come on, just, you know, crawl on the floor and apologize, won't you? Which of course they're not going to do. So we see that, you know, this strategy of making ourselves into a victim and trying to get people to feel sorry for ourselves, it just doesn't work, does it? We keep doing it again and again, but it never brings what we want. So either strategy, you know, the explode, yell, scream, accuse people of things strategy, and the self-pity, you know, make them feel guilty for how much they've hurt me strategy, neither one of them work. So the thing is to deal with our anger, because the source of the problem is our anger, and the solution to the problem is us reducing our anger. The solution of the problem is not the other person capitulating and apologizing. We usually think that's the solution. Okay? But the solution is us being able to release our anger, to stop exaggerating the situation, to see it for what it is, and let it go. So you're going to say, how in the world can I do that? Well, there's a number of ways to do it. First of all, we have to look at the things that we get angry over. Because a lot of times, and you notice I said the things we get angry over, I didn't say the things that make us mad. Because nothing makes us mad. We get angry. Okay? And see, this is a big change in perspective. We can't go through life saying, you made me mad. It's your fault that I'm angry. It's your fault that I'm unhappy. Because it isn't the other person who made us mad. It really isn't the other person who made us mad. Because what happened, if you look at it, there's the other person. They're saying something. There's sound waves, you know? Sound waves, remember science class, the sound waves, okay? Are the sound waves anger? No, they're just sound waves. The sound waves hit your ear, you know, there's some kind of circuitry that goes to your brain. Your brain does certain things, but more important, your mind creates meaning out of those sound waves. And it not only creates meaning, but it also embellishes the meaning. Okay? And we start projecting about what that meaning is. That person said, "Good morning." What do they really mean by good morning? Yeah, that tone of voice that they said good morning in, I don't know. I think there's something else going on. They aren't really saying good morning. You know, they have something up their sleeve. I know it. Okay? And then we say, "Oh, you made me mad." Yeah, by how the other person said good morning. Well, they didn't make us mad. Our minds started writing stories. Well, when we were little, maybe, you know, you had to do creative writing stories in English class. You couldn't come up with anything. We do creative writing stories all the time. All of our anger is our creative writing story. Yeah. All of our anger is we're writing a story. But we're not aware that we're writing a story. We think it's reality. So one thing that is very helpful when we find ourselves getting angry is to stop the story writing and come back to the bare facts. And let me give you an example of a situation. One of my friends, her son married a woman, and she, my friend always, she wasn't sure what to make of her new daughter-in-law. And one day her daughter-in-law's parents were having a party, in honor of the new couple, and they invited her. And she walked in the room, and her daughter-in-law was talking to somebody and didn't stand up and come to greet her. And so my friend is thinking, "Oh, there she is. She's talking to somebody. I walked in the room. I'm her mother-in-law, and she totally ignores me and keeps on talking to that person she's talking to. And she knows I don't know any of her family, she married my son, and she can't even come over and say hello to me when I walk into her family's house for a party. What kind of daughter-in-law is this? She is so rude. She is so inconsiderate. Why in the world did my son marry somebody like this?" Okay, so she was really, really upset. She did this exercise of describing just the facts of what happened. And what it boiled down to is, I opened the door, walked in the room, my daughter-in-law was talking to somebody. That's all that actually happened. All the rest was her creative writing story. Imputing motivations onto her daughter-in-law, exaggerating the situation, getting really worked up about it, but all that really happened was she opened the door, walked in the room, and her daughter-in-law was talking to somebody. That's it. When she realized that's all that really happened, it was like a pin in a balloon, and her anger just went shoo. But she saw it was, so much was exaggerated. So this is often what happens. There's some small incident, and our mind exaggerates it and creates an unhappy scene where there isn't. I think that in marriages this happens a lot. Very small, insignificant things all of a sudden become very big. You sit down for breakfast in the morning, and many Some of you eat peanut butter for breakfast? Yeah? Okay. Or you eat idli? Idli? Am I saying that? Idli? Okay. So you eat idli, but you need curd, don't you, for idli? Don't you for the sauce for idli?
Need some kind of stew.
Some kind of juice or something. Okay, so let's say juice to go with your idli. Okay, so you come to breakfast.
It's a kind of a gravy.
Yeah, some kind of. Okay, I'll just say juice for the time being, but you all know what I'm talking about. Okay, otherwise we'll get into a cooking class. Okay, so you come for breakfast, and there's your husband or wife, and there's the idli, and there's no juice, and you go, oh dear, there's no juice for the idli, and your spouse goes, oh well, yeah, sorry about that, I forgot to buy it, and you go, what do you mean you forgot to buy the juice? You know that we always eat idli for breakfast. You deliberately didn't get the juice because you wanted to antagonize me. Yeah, I know, because it was your turn to go to the market. You knew very well that we were out of juice. And you knew that I would be happy if there weren't any. And so you make up this excuse that you forgot it. You did it deliberately. Because you're really trying to irritate me and bug me. I know. And you know what? Our whole marriage has been like this. Yeah? Just all the time you're doing these passive-aggressive kind of things that you know I don't like, but you just want to irritate me. This has been going on for 15 years. And I've just been sitting here putting up with your passive-aggressive nonsense. You don't buy the juice, you don't do that, you don't do that. You always have one excuse after the other, and it's all garbage. And, I'm just fed up. I want a divorce. Yeah? And this happens, doesn't it? Doesn't it happen in your family relationship? Some small thing, and then everybody goes ballistic. Yeah. And it's over not having juice. Yeah. You're going to get divorced because they didn't buy juice. So do you see what I'm getting at? How anger exaggerates the situation? Yeah. And anger creates so much suspicion. If I can venture into the political sphere here, in the Tibetan community, whenever there's a problem, whose fault is it? The Chinese. In India, whenever there's a problem, whose fault is it? The Pakistanis. Right? Yeah, you don't have to do any analysis, any investigation. You already know. It's that group that did it. So do you see how our mind works to create stories where there aren't any? Yeah. How do we know it's the Chinese behind it? How do we know the Pakistanis are behind it?
Oh, we know, it is them.
Yeah. And then, so do you see how the anger creates this mind of suspicion?
Or is it
Yeah.
suspicion creates the anger? Because you have this inherent prejudice. You're looking for an excuse to.
Yeah, they feed off of each other, because sometimes we're angry and we need an excuse to get angry at something, okay? So we become suspicious and then we get angry, yeah. And then sometimes we're just so suspicious that we get angry over every small thing that somebody does. Yeah. Have you ever noticed that there's some people that you've decided that you don't like, and that every single thing, those is happening with the other person? No, it's completely made up by our mind. Yeah. But it's so curious that when we're angry, we never think, oh, this is my mind making stuff up. We're 100% sure that the other person really did that. And then, like I was saying before, our strategy is usually to do something to harm the other person, either directly harming them or playing the victim. Yeah. With the idea that I'm going to harm you until you realize that I'm right and that we're going to do things my way. And that, unfortunately, is the national foreign policy of some countries. My country, yeah? That's our national foreign policy. We are going to invade you and bomb you until you decide you like us. It's ridiculous. Anybody else American here?
I think you're the only one.
Oh, I'm the only one. Oh, dear.
He's an American.
You're an American? Okay. Then you know we're responsible for all the problems in the world. Okay. So, you know, this whole strategy, whether we use it in a national policy or we use it to groups relating to each other or we use it in a personal relationship, it doesn't work in any case. Yeah. I'm going to attack you and make you miserable until you decide you like me. Huh? Yeah. I mean, that's what happens between the Hindus and the Muslims here in India. You know, it doesn't work, does it? So we have to really first release our anger, release our suspicion, and, you know, cultivate a different way of looking at situations so that we can see them differently and not project so much negativity where there's no negativity. Okay. So, how about we'll talk a little bit about some antidotes, what to do. One thing that is very, I think, effective is when somebody is mistreating us, to say, what is the real cause of my unhappiness? Or what is the deeper cause of this situation? And here we'll find that the problem isn't really with the other person, that rather, why are we facing this difficulty? It's because of our own karma that we created beforehand. Okay. Why do I have a problem? Because I created the cause for it. Our problems don't come out of nowhere. This is a little bit uncomfortable because when we're hurt, when we're angry, we want to blame the other person. But in actual fact, we can't. Because why are we facing this difficulty? Because of our own actions. So if somebody is accusing us of something we didn't do, if somebody is insulting us, ridiculing us, or criticizing us, yeah, this is not due, you know, our unhappiness is really not due to the other person. We're facing this situation because of our own negative actions. Maybe we spoke harshly about somebody else. We criticized somebody else behind their back. We used our speech to create tension in the workplace. Or, we used our speech to gang up on somebody that we didn't like, to convince everybody that we know that this person is bad and blame them. Okay. And so when we look, especially in situations, I think, of criticism, one thing that I've discovered, because I don't know about you, but I don't like getting criticized. But I see that the real situation is that I have criticized others in the past, either earlier this life or in my previous lives.
That is the problem. How do we know about that?
Okay, I'm going to get there.
Because quite often what happens is, we get within a family situation, you know, there are a lot of dynamics and politics. And we don't know about my past lives, but in present lives, we find that, you know, you become the punching bag.
Okay, so when you're becoming the punching bag, instead of getting angry, we have to say, why am I facing this person's criticism? Or this person verbally abusing me or whatever. Okay. Now, if I look honestly and ask myself, okay, even in this life, have I criticized people? Yeah. Do you criticize people?
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody here who's never criticized someone? No. How frequently do you criticize other people? Daily? Once a month? Once a year? How often do you criticize people? How often do you criticize people? Daily, don't we?
Some people do it 24/7.
Yeah. Some of us are it's like we have our PhD in criticism. Yeah. You need to criticize somebody? Let me know, I'll do it for you. Yeah, you need to find faults? Oh, my opinion factory works overtime. I can find faults in everybody. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, no delay. So, if we look, okay, I've criticized people daily. Sometimes twice, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times a day. Do I get criticized every day? Do you get criticized every day? No.
I mean, you don't really know.
Yeah. But, we don't get criticized every day, do we? So here it is, we criticize people on a daily basis. But we don't even get criticized every day. So when we are criticized, why do we get so upset when we've given out more criticism than we're getting? Yeah? I mean, if we criticize, it makes perfect sense that other people criticize us back. But we're not even getting criticized at the same frequency. So when I'm experiencing this result of getting criticized, actually, I'm getting off light, considering the amount of criticism I've dished out to other people. Yeah. If I were to get criticized with the same force and frequency of what I've given, be really overwhelmed. So this criticism that I'm getting right now, actually it's not so bad. I can handle this. And further, so this criticism is, the primary cause is my own negative karma, done under the influence of my own self-centered thought. Because why do I criticize other people? When I criticize other people, is my motivation compassion? No. That's what we think. Oh, it's for your own good, dear, that I'm saying all these nasty, hateful, spiteful words to you. Yeah, right. Okay. I mean, why do we criticize? It's our own self-centeredness, isn't it? Yeah. So here we are experiencing the results of our own self-centeredness. Yeah. Why are we getting so upset? It's just the boomerang effect. We put that energy out into the universe, it's coming back and hitting us. And it's not nearly as strong as what we've given out. And so here there's a big opportunity where we can learn from our mistake and think, okay, why am I facing this difficulty and this criticism? Because I've criticized others under the influence of my own selfish mind. I don't like this result. If I don't like this result, I have to start creating the causes. That means when the urge arises in me to criticize somebody, to trash them, to insult them, to abuse them, I have to refrain. I have to back off. I have to keep my mouth closed. I have to go sit on my meditation position and calm my own mind down. Because if I just give free rein to my anger, I'm going to create more cause to be treated in the same way. And I don't like the way I'm being treated. So I don't want to create more cause for it. Okay? Okay, so then the question is, does that mean that you're just keeping all your anger inside and stuffing it? Okay? No. It doesn't mean you blame yourself. It doesn't mean you stuff your anger inside. It means you really honestly look at the situation and you say, if I believe in karma, then this is an accurate description of what happens. I'm always saying I believe in karma. So if I really believe in karma, you know, that what I experience is a result of what I did, then, you know, if I'm getting criticized and insulted and verbally abused, it's because I dish this kind of thing out to other people. Yeah? So it's not a question of stuffing down my own anger. It's a question of not even getting angry in the first place, because I realize the other person just happened to be the tool. Yeah? But the real source was my own karma. Okay? So I'm not talking about stuffing our anger. And I'm not talking about making ourselves into a victim of, oh, I'm so terrible, I created this negative karma, they deserve to abuse me. Thank you. I'm so terrible, I created so much karma, abuse me, I deserve it. No, I'm not talking about that, okay? Because that is just more self-centered attitude, isn't it? Yeah. When we're involved in self-blame and guilt, who is the star of the show? Me. You know? I'm so terrible, no wonder they're criticizing me, it's all my fault. You know? That's baloney. The situation is just sometime in the past. You know, I spoke poorly to somebody else. I'm experiencing the result. I know now what it's like, what the other person felt like, and I'm going to restrain my negative speech in the future. Yeah, because I care about myself and I care about the other person. I don't want either of us to suffer. Not because I'm stuffing my anger, but I'm just not getting angry to start with. Are you getting what I'm saying here? Yeah? It's very important. This point is very important. Otherwise, there's the risk that we make ourselves into martyrs. My husband beats me every day, and that's been my negative karma because I must have beaten other people in a previous life. So I'm bearing this negative karma of him beating me because I'm such a terrible person. And so I'm a good Buddhist, so I'm going to practice compassion. And every time he beats me, I'm going to forgive him out of compassion. Because anyway, I'm so lousy, I deserve to be beaten by my husband. That is not dharma, that is stupidity. Yeah. Don't confuse dharma with stupidity. if somebody is, abusing you, either physically or verbally, you don't have to stay in that situation saying, it's my karma. Yeah. You can leave the situation, but you do so without getting angry. And you do so without making yourself into a victim. You do so just by looking and saying, this is not appropriate behavior. This is not a helpful situation for me or for the other person. Yeah. I can't allow somebody to continue treating me like that because they create a lot of negative karma. Yeah. So I have, you leave the situation. So experiencing the right result of our karma doesn't mean we let people beat up on us or we let people take advantage of us. It doesn't mean that. Okay? It's very important. This way of thinking helps us so that we don't get angry. Then, with a mind that's calm, we can look at the situation and think, what is a skillful way to handle it? What is the right thing to do in this situation? Okay? The idea is that when we're angry, we can't think clearly about how to handle a situation. So the practice of fortitude is to help us remain calm so we can think clearly about what to do.
Very often, it's not just to gain acceptance and love that we get angry.
Mm-hmm.
We get angry when we are frustrated in another situation, we don't know how to cope with it or handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And we show, we vent our anger with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, that situation?
Yeah. So the classic thing of, somebody gets mad at work and then they come home and they take it out on their spouse, and then the spouse hits the child, and then the child kicks the dog. Everybody's taking it out on somebody else. Yeah. So, that's a kind of cycle that we want to stop. That doesn't do any good, does it? Yeah. And so I think what is very helpful for us is to be able to notice when we're angry. Yeah. And catch our anger when it's still small. So when we feel the anger energy coming, to immediately identify it and say, oh, I need to be careful. I can feel anger arising. So what are signs that you experience when you know you're starting to get angry? Now, what do you feel in your body when you're getting angry? Your stomach? Okay, so one thing is your stomach tightens. Yeah. What else?
You lose focus.
Yeah, you lose focus. What else happens? Your heartbeat increases, your breath increases.
Is it hormonal changes?
Yeah. You might become flush. Yeah. Sometimes what happens? Your palms get sticky, a little bit sweaty. Yeah. So those are usually signs that come when we're really, really angry. But it's not like those things happen all of a sudden. We can start seeing them happen when they're still small. What about, so those are physical things. What about mental things, emotional things? Can you start? Yeah. So you can feel, maybe there's a little bit of like unhappiness inside. Feeling low, feeling unhappy. Yeah.
Resentment.
Resentment, yeah.
Impatience.
Some resentment's coming, some
Impatience.
impatience.
Not thinking in objective.
Not taking what?
Not thinking in objective.
Yeah, we're not thinking objectively. Yeah, we can see that our thinking is getting skewed. There's some irritation inside of our mind. So those are all signs that, we're starting to get angry. So I think, what we need to do is we need to learn about ourselves and learn what are the signs that come up in me when I'm starting to get angry. What are the physical signs? What are the emotional feeling signs? And then to be able to catch that anger, to see it when it's still small. Because when the anger is big, it's very difficult to do anything with it. Yeah, we have to catch it when it's small. And when it's small, then to say to ourselves, I'm angry. And anger is an afflicted mental state. Okay? To acknowledge, I'm angry, not the other person's doing this and this and this. I'm angry. And second of all, this is an afflicted mental state. It's involved with exaggeration. It's not seeing things realistically. It's not beneficial. We have to remember that when we're angry. If we can do that, then that already really takes the steam out of it. And we don't wind up going home and taking it out on somebody else at home. Okay? But we can identify and say to ourselves, I'm starting to get angry. Yeah. And I know that when I get angry, I say and I do things that I often regret later on. So rather than just letting this anger build and take it out, I'm going to, sit for a moment and calm myself. So there's different things you can do to calm yourself. Sometimes you sit and watch your breath, okay? Or you take a few deep breaths. Sometimes you sit and you change the way you're thinking. And so maybe you think, oh, this is a result of negative karma. So why do I get upset? Or another thing to switch your thought is to say, oh, the other person is doing this because they're unhappy. Yeah. It's not really that they want to hurt us. It's not somebody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I feel so wonderful, I think I'm going to go hurt somebody's feelings. That's not why that person's doing it. They're doing it because they're unhappy inside. That's why people do harmful things, because they're unhappy. When they're happy, they wouldn't behave like that. So to really look and say, oh, this person's unhappy. I know what it's like to be unhappy. Rather than blame them, rather than get mad at them, but let's recognize they're unhappy. And maybe I can say something to them that might help. Or maybe I can ask them, please tell me about your unhappiness. So that's a very good way also to look at this. This other person's unhappy. It's not that they're a bad person. It's not that they're an evil person. Okay, when somebody gets angry, actually Shantideva says that in the early part of chapter 6. He says that, an unhappy mind is the breeding ground for anger. Because we really can see it in ourselves. When we're happy, we don't get angry. Do we? It's when we're unhappy. So then, the challenge is, how do we keep our mind happy? I remember when I was studying at the monastery, and one of my teachers, Thubten Jumping Chuck from Sarah, he would say when somebody was angry, well, just keep your mind happy. And it was like, but I wouldn't be feeling like this if I could keep my mind. How do I keep my mind happy? Yeah, I mean, it was such a puzzle. What do you mean have a happy mind? I don't know how to have a happy mind. So, but again, if we, over the years, this has kind of been my puzzle to work with. How do I keep my mind happy? And I found that the more I practice compassion, the more I practice bodhicitta, the more I have a happy mind. Okay? So the more I do the meditations on the kindness of others, the more I spend just in my daily life looking around and recognizing the kindness that I'm receiving from other people, then the more my mind is happy all by itself. It's not that chocolate cake and good food and, lying on the beach and going to the cinema make me happy. Yeah. It's really, being aware of the kindness of others. That makes me happy. And thinking about compassion, thinking about my Buddha nature, the potential to become awakened, thinking about bodhicitta, these kinds of things are ways to make our own mind happy. And, we don't have to go out and spend money at a mall and buy something that isn't really going to make us happy anyway. So the more we can do these meditations in the long run, especially I think the bodhicitta meditations, the more we're able to keep our own mind in a good mood. Yeah. When our mind is in a good mood, then, people may criticize us, and we don't take it so personally. If we let our mind get in a bad mood and somebody criticizes us, then we get really, really upset. But the more we can practice to stabilize our mind so that we aren't like an emotional yo-yo. You know those toys, yo-yos? Yeah, we're like emotional yo-yos, aren't we? Up, down, up, down, up, down. So with Dharma practice, we learn to be more, smooth. And then whatever happens, okay. We don't get bent out of shape. Okay, let's sit quietly for a couple of minutes and then we'll dedicate. And then if you have some further questions or want to break into small groups and do some discussion about this, it's quite good. So we'll have just a meditation of a few minutes, but think about some of the things we discussed, okay? And think about them in a way so that you can bring them into your life. Okay, so maybe think about somebody you have a difficult time with and how you can think about the situation so that you don't get so angry about it. Let's really rejoice at our own merit, our own positive energy that we've created this evening, and at the merit that everybody here has created. Let's rejoice at the goodness and kindness that sentient beings show towards each other. And let's rejoice also at the virtue of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and other holy beings. And then let's dedicate all of that merit, all of that goodness, so that each individual can learn how to have a calm mind, so that everybody can learn how to keep their own minds happy. Let's dedicate so that people can recognize their anger and take responsibility for it and practice the antidotes, the techniques that the Buddha taught for to look at the situation in a different way, so that everyone can overcome their own anger. And let's dedicate so that everybody can actualize their inner human beauty, their Buddha potential, and become fully awakened Buddhists. Due to this merit may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi of the born arise and grow. May that born no decline, but increase forevermore. So I'd just like to refer you to some resources about the topic of fortitude. So of course one is this book, Chapter 6. Another one is a book by His Holiness the Dalai Lama called Healing Anger. Another one is that I wrote is called Working with Anger. I also had an offering for your library. And so this is a book. This is called Insight into Emptiness, and it's by Khensur Jamna Tekchok, the former abbot of Serajay Monastery. It's a wonderful book about emptiness, and he really answers lots of questions that other teachers don't get into. So I'd like to offer this to your center library.
Thank you.